Madam President, I ask that unanimous consent that I be allowed to speak for up to 5 minutes, followed by Senator Graham for up to 5 minutes prior to the scheduled roll call votes.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. As elected members of Congress, our most important obligation is the safety and security of all Americans. Events here at our southern border and across the globe are putting at risk the safety and security of Americans today. We're appalled by the terrorist attacks Hamas committed against Israel. Those attacks did great harm to the people of Israel and also to American citizens, some of whom are still being held hostage. We support Israel's efforts to secure the release of all of the hostages held by Hamas. That means we also expect the government of Qatar to do more to bring those hostages safely out of Gaza. I say that because the government of Qatar hosts the leadership of Hamas. That's where the leadership of Hamas is. I find it remarkable that they're living in Qatar rather than in Gaza. Says a lot, doesn't it? But because they are there, the government of Qatar is in a position to do much more and to be helpful in getting these hostages released. Now, we continue to stand, and we will continue to stand with Israel as it prepares to remove Hamas from power in Gaza, and that is something they must do for their own safety and really for the safety of many other countries as well, because Hamas is a terrorist organization dedicated to terror. That means killing indiscriminately, and that's exactly what they have been doing and what they are doing. We know that this will require the Israeli people to make enormous sacrifices, but that these sacrifices will ultimately bring security to Israel and to the region. More broadly, we know that many Americans, including members of our military, our diplomats, and many civilians in the Middle East are threatened by violence instigated by Iran. We owe it to these Americans to provide the protection they need and to deter further violence from Iran. And so we must set aside fruitless negotiations with the terror regime in Tehran, increase sanctions, and demonstrate that we will respond forcefully to Iranian-backed violence against our people and our interests. And the threats that Americans face are not confined to the Middle East. Our porous southern border opens the door to threats that can emerge here at home, threats from terrorists. And we need to address that. Instability in the Middle East and other parts of the world makes securing our southern border even more urgent. We must identify who is attempting to enter the United States and stop those who are entering our country illegally. Secure border helps us identify potential threats before they get inside the United States. Just last week, Customs and Border Protection confirmed that the U.S. experienced the highest ever number of monthly encounters at the southern border, nearly 270,000 in 1 month. And with nearly 2.5 million crossings, fiscal year 2023 has now seen the highest ever annual total of encounters at the southern border, almost 2.5 million. And to make matters worse, in fiscal year 2023, a record number of individuals from the terror watch list attempted to cross into the United States. Think about that. From the terror watch list. DHS admits that this is a growing threat. Its most recent Homeland Security Threat Assessment found that the department is seeing annual increases of individuals on the terror watch list attempting to illegally cross into the United States. Specifically, the report found that, quote, as part of the overall increase in migration, we have also encountered a growing number of individuals in the Terrorist Screening Data Set, TSDS, also known as the watch list. Hamas and other violent extremists certainly are aware of this vulnerability. And the solutions are, we know what the solutions are. The Biden administration won't enforce them. Everyone knows what the solutions are. Enforce the Remain in Mexico policy. Enforce the Third Safe Country agreements. We know they work. The last administration proved it. We know they work. But the Biden administration will not enforce them. and they need to. Border security is national security. And finish building the border wall. As we consider proposals to aid our allies, we must not forget to also secure our own border. Border security is national security. Meaningful border security provisions should be included as part of our efforts to make Americans safer and more secure. As we stand with Israel, and we must stand with Israel, we must also secure our southern border. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.